Okay, I want to get your thoughts on something that I picked up on. I'm sure other people have picked up on it, but I wanted to get your insight about it. It seemed like near the end of the height of death row, so I guess the end of '96, that and some people mentioned that death row was run like with mafia rules. It seemed like they tried to set it up like that to where like Tupac had his little group, Snoop had his group, Suge had his group, um, maybe Hammer or somebody had his group, and then like only like the bosses could talk to the other bosses or whatever, which brings into the story about Tupac saying to Snoop, corrupting them can't talk to me anymore, only you can. Is there any truth to that theory, or is am I just looking too deep into the way it looked like it was structured?
You know, John, your ass is smart. You caught that. Stop saying other motherfuckers caught that. You caught that. And you, John, until you brought it to my attention, I mean, I'm sure, because that's all Suge and Pac used to do was watch gangster movies. I laugh when his daddy say the last movie that Tupac saw was Forrest Gump. I was like, oh, this man really don't know his son. He is out here perpetrating. And I think he might have misspoke. He might have meant the last movie that he saw while he was, before he got out of jail, was Forrest Gump. Because I done been in a movie theater with Suge, Pac, and their dates out in Woodland Hills on several occasions. And Pac was a big. I mean, I went to the Sunset Park movie premiere where we watched that. The one I think Queen Latifah had the soundtrack too, and the Dog Pound was on that soundtrack. I think it was it wasn't Higher Learning. Pretty sure it was Sunset Park. We did it at Magic Johnson Theater and on Crenshaw. So it wasn't his last movie. I know I went away from the question. Just wanted to make another correction, so people won't be out there thinking that Forrest Gump was the last movie that Tupac saw. I'll be looking up and see a documentary with Tupac in the movie theater laughing at Forrest Gump, and I'll be like, "Where y'all get that shit from?" Well, his daddy said it. His daddy said it. Okay, y'all know what I think of Billy. But anyway, so yeah, they watched a lot of Casino and if Casino was out, if not, it was Goodfellas. Any movies like that, him and Suge was big into. And because Suge had one of those big discs where you can buy the disc and you could play it. It was before the DVDs were really big. He had an entertainment system like that in his house where we used to go and watch the movies at, especially at the house in Vegas. So I'm saying all that to say that you're right on, John. That was a great observation to how they were set up, where I try to tell you guys all the time that the Dog Pound, and y'all see on that footage that John posted on the video shoot, where you had Nate Dogg and Corrupt and Daz and all that. Pac came over there, but he was mainly talking to who? Snoop. And they were all standing around Snoop listening, where the Outlaws were standing off to the side. And then Hammer had, y'all would say, well, how the Nutso situation happened? I don't know how that happened. But Hammer, pretty much had Nutso, and he had brought Keisha when she was a youngster around, Keisha Cole. And Eric B. and him were real tight. Louis Burrell, the gangster of the crew, they were all around, and they had their little, crew. Hammer's wasn't as big as mainly, Suge and his homeboys and Hub and then Quick Cat, they will all fall up under the Big Jake, which will fall up under the Suge crew and all of that. With the Second and None and Danny Boy, Jewel, and all of that. So yes, you 100% right. That was a great observation, John, of how they were setting up. And the main three were the Suge, the LBC crew and Dog Pound and all of them under Snoop, and then Tupac with his Outlaws and Big Syke and all of them and their crew. And even Daz kind of insinuated it or alluded to it on an interview I saw him talk about, where he said they saw Tupac and them discipline some people, and they went back or Suge, I forget who he said, discipline some people, and then they didn't do it at the studio, but they took it back to Snoop House on the basketball court, and they did it. And when he was out of town, some of the Dog Pound members did it to old Superfly. Shout out Priest, Superfly. Dad's real keyboard player, and a guy who Warren G and Dad stole a lot of their work from. But that's another subject. Yeah. So yes, great observation.